Welcome back, everybody. We're talking about strings in Java. So a string is just a sequence of characters, and this sequence of characters can be stored as a variable. A string literal is just surrounded by double quotes, and as you can see, here's double quotes, double quotes. This right here, in double quotes, is a string literal. Because of this, double quote 24 double quote is different than 24. Why? Well, this is a string, and this is an integer. Here's an example of outputting a string literal. So, system.out.println, this is literally a string literal. Literally. So we'll see here, this is literally a string literal. That's all it did, it just printed out a string literal, which is just a string. So let's make a string variable so we can store and use it later if we wanted to. So string goal equals to like this video. Now, quick note, this S needs to be capitalized. If it's not capitalized, Java doesn't know what you're talking about. So make sure to capitalize the S when you're creating a string variable. So let's actually use this variable and output it. So your goal is plus goal. And as you can see, your goal is to like this video. And as you can see, like this video actually came from the string goal, which was the variable that we had just set. So now let's get a string from the user. So we'll just make a string variable and call it name, but we won't initialize it just yet. We're going to use .next on the scanner method to read a string up until it sees a white space character, which is just a space or a tab or a new line, stuff like that. So system.out.print, enter your name, and this will just make sure that the user knows what we want. And we'll put name, that string variable, name equals, and then we're going to assign it the next sequence of characters that we get from the user up until a white space is found. So that's what next does. So let's run it. Oh, actually, let's make sure that we get a payoff here. So system.out.println hello plus name plus exclamation point. And we'll run that. Enter your name, Jason. Hello, Jason. Hello, Java. See, as you can see, it did use my name variable. And so that's exactly what we wanted. And now let's get a goal in the form of a sentence from the user. So we'll take more than just one sequence of letters. Now we're going to actually take an entire line. So we're going to use the .nextLine method from the scanner. And we're going to include the white spaces. That is the difference between nextLine and just next, is that next stops at white space. nextLine does not stop at white space. It stops at a new line. So system.out.print, enter a new goal. So we'll make another variable. We'll call this new goal, and we'll take the entirety of the next line. And then let's have a payoff here, and we'll say, let's take our name, and then we'll print your new goal is, and then the new goal. So this should be fairly painless. Let's see what happens. And we'll do Jason. Nice. And oh, it's not letting me enter our goal. So why is that? Right here, it just shows nothing. It's as if though just nothing's working. This is actually expected. It looks like Java didn't allow us to update the new goal, and that's because .next leaves white space afterwards. It's actually hard to explain this. The white space here is a new line, so it's not even a space. As you can see here, there's no space here. I mean, there's the space, but that's actually from the string literal that we have. It just goes straight to this exclamation point, and that's because there's a new line that just wasn't. It's hard to explain. Basically, it left a breadcrumb with nothing in it, and that screwed up our next line. So we can fix this, and usually you would just use nextLine to avoid this altogether. But if you wanted to use nexts, you could, and we'll just empty this out. We'll just blur this out for a second, and let's try this again, except we're actually going to do it correctly. So what we're going to have to do is add just one additional line. Now, this should look familiar. scnr equals new scanner system.in. This is actually exactly what happens up here at the beginning of the program. This is usually what you'll use to set up for getting any type of input from a user is scanner scnr equals new scanner. Well, we only have to put scanner and then equals new scanner. We don't have to reinitialize it. We just assign it this new scanner. And so what this is going to do is it's going to clear what this left behind, because this left behind like some kind of weird empty string, but it stops you from being able to continue when you use this one. It's really funky. So this is how you would clear it though. So let's do exactly what we had before. And as you can see, exactly the same. Now let's try it again, and this time it should work. So we'll say, Jason, enter a new goal. Nice. This is looking up. World domination. Jason, your new goal is world domination. Nice. So it did, in fact, reset after we used the next. We didn't change anything else except by adding this scanner and basically saying, hey, I want it to be a new one. Let's make it fresh. Get rid of that empty weirdness string. And that's all we needed to do. Oh, let me move that. So with that being said, I think we're ready for a comprehension check. So this time there are 3 errors. I want you to find and fix them. If you're unsure about integers, you can check my other video on them. And let me see here. String A, string B equals 2. System.out.println. This answer should be 42. System.out.print. Nice. Now sign below to mark completed. Hint. Think about how we would reset the scanner and make it new again. And then string signature equals scnr.nextLine. System.out.println. This should be on a new line. And if it is, good job and nice signature. All right. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Go ahead and pause the video and find those 3 errors. And we'll be right back. We'll go over this together. All right, welcome back. So we're actually just going to go over this together. The errors that we have here are a little tricky. They can be. So the first one you should have seen is maybe this one, right? Print line. So when you're using things like nextLine and print line, at least for me, when I was first learning this, I genuinely confused print line and nextLine all the time. Like I'd put nextLN, and then that of course isn't correct. Or I would put print line like that. And that, of course, isn't correct. So let's go ahead and fix this and print and a lowercase ln. And now that should be right. So we found one error. Now let's look at this. It should be 42. And this is asking us to enter 4, which we could definitely do when we get the input, and then 2. But 4 plus 2 is 6, right? Well, that would be true if it was for integers, but these are strings. So what this is actually going to do is we put 4 in here, and this will be 4 plus 2. It's going to concatenate, and it's just going to be 4, 2. It's interesting, right? So that's going to print 42 instead of, or excuse me, 4, 2 instead of 6, which is interesting, but it's a thing. So the second one, and this one's a little sneaky, capitalize this S in string. Now the red lines, they gave you a hint on 2 of those, right? The string one and the print line. But yes, make sure the S is capitalized in string. Now there's a third error, and this is the sneakiest one of them all, but I did give you a pretty good hint. And if you didn't see where that hint was going, let's actually run this output first, and maybe you'll see it now. So we'll say, Jason, your new goal is to subscribe. Jason, your new goal is to subscribe. Nice. Enter 4. All right, I'll enter 4. And then, as you can see, nice. Now sign below to mark completed. This should be on a new line. If it is, and as you can see, this is not on a new line, so not good job. Not a nice signature. What happened? Well, we know. We need to get rid of that junk that was left behind on .next. Now, I'm going to show you something. This is not the solution, but this is a solution. This is just not the one I had in mind. You could actually just do it like this, too. You put nextLine there, and we'll put world domination again, because why not? And we'll put 4, and then we'll put pizza. I don't know. I am now pizza. And as you can see, now sign below to mark completed. Pizza. This should be on a new line, and it is. Good job. And nice signature pizza. You see how much easier it is with nextLine? I'm going to recommend you use nextLine almost always, unless you can't. There are situations where you cannot use it. This is not one of them, but there are situations that you cannot use it. I'm not going to show you on any, mainly because I can't think of any right now. Maybe for like setting up arrays, you would probably want to use just next, because you'll have more spaces. But for stuff like this, you wouldn't need it. Maybe in the array video, I'll be using nexts. Let me see here. So what we have to do to fix this is scnr, that scanner we made again, equals new scanner system.in. And again, this is just going to reset it. So let's run it. We'll say JSON, enter a new goal, to run a half marathon. I'll enter the number 4. And as you can see, I need to sign JSON, Pro Marathon Runner. Good job. A nice signature, JSON, Pro Marathon Runner. And boom. So we have solved the 3 errors. And like I said, the print nextLine, that's really nice. Now, if you were to do the redundant thing, and that would be to use nextLine and new scanner, I don't believe it's going to make a difference. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't actually make a difference. I wasn't sure if it was going to make a difference or not, but it doesn't. You don't need to do this with nextlines. This is exclusively useful for when this is just a next. I hope that all made sense. If it didn't, make sure to ask down in the comments any clarification. If you really want to see like a situation where using nexts is more important, let me know in the comments. I might even give you a personalized example, and we'll be able to do that. But genuinely, you want to use nextLine almost always. And if nextLine would not work for what you're doing, that's when you know you need to use next. But nextLine is better. That's my opinion. This has been Strings. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out my other Java videos and have a good night or day, whatever. What time it is, I don't know. Yeah.